Welcome to Onshape for Makers, where we are creating models to take to the shop. The model today is from the tootalltoby.com website, also the YouTube channel by the same name. There are over 100 practice models over there, instructional models, and recorded contests of high-speed modeling from international competitions. An incredible place to go visit. Our part today looks like this. It's basically a revolve down in the lower part. It's got an extrude in the upper part. It has a loft that will fit the two together. And it has a feature on the very face of it where it has reinforcement rings on the inside of the hollow. Those aren't real difficult, but if we go at them the right way, they'll pop right in. So let's start off with a look at the drawing. This is the drawing from the contest. It's not an engineering drawing, it's a high-speed modeling drawing that they start cold with, so it looks a little different to what you would expect on purpose to make life more difficult. Nothing real fancy here. The only thing you need to see is there is a 6mm and a 10mm thickness on the face, and a 3mm wall elsewhere with a side port that we'll deal with. It comes in last. So this is it. We'll get started on it, and here we go. Starting with a fresh Onshape Part Studio, we will set in the hamburger menu up at the top under Workplace Units. We will set it to millimeters. Mechanical mass is grams. And we can get started. Before I start, if you do a shift right slash, you can bring up the keyboard shortcuts for Onshape. You can find all of the shortcuts. I will be using some of them. I certainly don't know all of them. And if you want to modify them, you can go to My Account, then you can come over to Preferences and scroll down to keyboard shortcuts and assign shortcuts however you want them for whatever situation you're in, and they will appear on the shift slash pop-up also. Starting on the front plane, back to square one. Front plane, shift S, N for normal. We're going to start with a line in construction mode, going up 187, I believe it is, and escape out of that, and that will give us the center line for the part. Going back into line mode at the bottom is 80, so we'll come out 40. The first dimension we have is 70. At that point, we have a 45-degree angle that comes across. We have a 55 diameter here. We come back out at 30 degrees, somewhere out in this area, and then we're going to come up, and I'm going to pick up this point right here, pull it across, and then come back to it. And that will give us the basic outline. To get this dimension, since I have a center line, I can click and go left of or across the center line, and it will give me a diameter rather than a radius. This, of course, is 100, which would be 200 diameter here across the face of the end with 3 holes in it. The 70 is good. To here is 100, and we have a dimension of 30 degrees on this. We have a dimension of 45 on that, and everything went black, so we are fully defined. We need a couple of more lines. We will go back to the line tool, draw a line here. This is where the revolve ends. We start at the bottom, do a revolve in that area, and that line ends it. The other line we need is for the side port, and we'll use it way down the list, but we'll put it in now. It's a horizontal line that comes out 53, and it's dimensioned up from the baseline at a dimension of 25, and that will give us the side port later. Okay, we're through with this. We can go to the revolve, select the area, select the axis, and we have our first part. I'm going to change the color of the part because my monitors much prefer this color for clarity. The blue, for some reason, just isn't real good on my monitors. Now I'm going to go back to Sketch 1, re-enable it, and go back into it, and these three lines need to be construction lines. So I'm going to do a window select going from right to left and select construction line and take care of that problem and green check mark. And now I'm going to create a plane to do our sketch with. To do that, I'm going to select this line and that point, and then when I go to the plane command, it's smart enough to know based on what I have already selected that I want point normal. So all I have to do is name it. I'm going to name it face. That's kind of silly, but it is. I'm going to select it, start a sketch on it, go normal to it, and then I'm going to hide part 1 and I'm going to hide sketch 1. So all I have is blank. Go to the line tool. There is a line between the three holes that is 130 millimeters long. And I'm going to go from there to escape and Shift M to get a midpoint constraint between that line and the origin. And we are ready to draw circles. The circles will be 55, 55. And the hole will be 35. And the center point will be 25. And the reinforcing ring will be 45. And then I'm going to pick up the mirror, select the center, pick up these two, and I have them. All I need now is to go up to the offset tool, look below it, find slot, and pick the dotted line, and type in 70. Enter, and that's the face. So we now have the face of the end of the part. We're through with this. We can go back and see sketch 1 because we're going to need this line. We don't know what it is, but we're going to let Onshape figure it out. If we measure it and then hard code it, it's a problem later for an engineering change. So we'll let Onshape manage it for us. We're going to extrude. We're going to window select all of that. Extrude down, and we're going to extrude down to vertex. And we're going to select this point right here. And that becomes a controlling point for the depth of our extrude. I'm going to change appearance. And we're good there. Now what we need is to see part 1. And we need to do an extrusion a loft between those two. So we will come up to the feature loft, select the bottom face and the top face, and then we will come over and do add, merge with all, which will merge all three parts into a single body. Right click and we have a single body. We need a hollow shell would be the next step. To get it, we can come up to the shell tool, which is adjacent to the hole tool. Select the base. It has a 3 millimeter wall. And we now have a hollow shell. To verify that, I'm going to move my mouse over this area, right click, and do a section view. And then when I tilt this down, I can grab the arrow, push it back, and I have a section view, and I can see actually inside the part. If I want to, I can leave that up. I won't, but we could leave that up and work with it that way. I do want to hide that silly face. There, to get it out of the way. And we're going to show that sketch again. We're going to select the three holes. We're going to extrude those holes, and we're going to extrude them down in a remove. And I think we can probably go 10. And we have holes. Now if you look at the drawing, the thickness of the top is 6, but the thickness we have after the shell is 3, so we can select this entire top, and we'll just leave the circles, and we will extrude that to a depth of 6 down, check mark, and then when you do a section view and push the arrow back, you'll see the top is thicker now than it was. Now we need to do the circles, and the circles are 10 deep. So leaving that still active, we'll select the material for the reinforcement, do an extrude, reverse direction with a depth of 10, enter, and we have our part. The only thing we're missing is a side port. So I'm going to right click, see, let me just leave that for a minute. Let me take that out. It'd be easier if I just turn it off. On the side port over here, we will select this line, select that point. We will go back to the plane, and it will give us a plane that's point normal. And we will call this one side port. Check mark, select the plane, go to sketch, turn around, go normal. We're going to do a circle on that plane, and it's going to be 40. We're going to do a second circle, and it's going to be 20. And then we're going to, let's see, I think what I want to do is go back to section view and push it open so we can see that much of it. Check mark. Now what we need to do, we need to extrude this thing over to the face. We don't want to go inside, we want to go to the face, so we're going to extrude, and we're going up to next in that direction. And that will bring us up as an add and give us a solid port that conforms to the curvature. Now when we go back to sketch 3 and select the center, which is the hole, we want it to go in, and we can either type in a dimension, or we can simply use our intelligence here by going up to next on the remove. And what that does, that tells it to keep removing until it finds the next, which would be this inside wall. The advantage is if engineering ever changes and somebody alters the diameter of this, the hole won't accidentally go through the far side. It is controlled by the geometry, which makes life much better for maintenance and just survivability of a good model. So that gives us the model everything we need. Let me show you one more thing in Loft, and it's not part of the model, but it's kind of fun. If we want this model currently has square corners, and it comes up, makes a hard left, makes a hard right, and it has quite a bit of sudden change in there, which is going to cause a flow problem, whether you're running a gas or a liquid, either one, or even a material through there. You need a rounder, more gentle type thing. So we can go to Loft. We can open up Loft, and once you'll notice it says none and there's not much of a choice, but suddenly when I pick this and go to match tangent, I start gaining options. Onshape is very good about building menus based on what you select. But if you'll notice, this is starting to get a nice round option. I can change this 1 to, say, 1.5. And it will add a little more curvature to this and look even better. Green check mark, and we have a pretty nice flow pattern here. If you're using any of the Onshape tools up here on the toolbar, you will find a gray question mark in the bottom right corner. If you select the gray question mark, and I did, it just didn't happen, it will bring up a document page for that particular feature. And it has Android, iOS, and desktop, and there are some subtle differences, but it has video examples, it has steps, it has suggestions, it has tips. There is a lot of documentation for each one of the features. And the advantage of that is you're never without help. Now, if I could just get back. There we go. And the documentation is always updated before the features are released. So you have current documentation always with Onshape. I think that's it for this part. Hope you enjoyed it. Catch you all down the road somewhere.